Most people scroll past farming videos without a second thought, until they stumble across Sonne Farms. At first glance, it looks like a peaceful slice of rural America. Endless fields, massive machinery, and early mornings that most of us would never survive. But behind those cinematic harvest shots and quiet country roads lies a story that almost no one is talking about. Because Sonne Farms didn't just grow crops, it grew an audience, fast. What started as a simple attempt to document everyday farm life quietly transformed into one of the most captivating agricultural channels on YouTube. No flashy gimmicks, no staged drama, just real moments from a family that has spent generations working the same land. Yet somehow, millions have found themselves drawn into a world they've never experienced. So what is it about this farm that keeps viewers coming back? Is it the raw authenticity, the relentless work ethic, or the feeling that you're witnessing a disappearing way of life in real time? The truth is, building a modern farming empire while inviting the entire internet along for the ride isn't as simple as it looks. There were risks, unexpected challenges, and decisions that could have changed everything. And once you see what really goes on behind the camera, you may never look at farming the same way again. What most viewers don't realize is that Sonne Farms didn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. Its story was being written long before cameras ever showed up. Long before YouTube algorithms and drone shots, this land was shaped by generations who understood one simple rule: if you don't work, nothing grows. The farm sits in South Dakota, where unpredictable weather and razor-thin margins can make or break an entire year. For the Sonne family, farming wasn't just a career choice, it was an inheritance. Passed down through multiple generations, the operation carries the fingerprints of ancestors who arrived with little more than determination and a belief that the land would eventually reward their persistence. Every field has a history. Every structure represents years of reinvestment, risk, and long days that started before sunrise. This was an overnight success. It was decades of slow, sometimes painful progress. And while many family farms across America quietly disappeared under financial pressure, rising costs, and industry consolidation, Sonne Farms adapted instead of folding. They expanded their cattle program, refined their crop strategy, and leaned into smarter equipment to stay competitive in a world that rarely favors small operations. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. Unlike older generations who kept their struggles private, the new face of Sonne Farms made a decision that would completely reshape their future. He opened the gate and let the world watch. Suddenly, viewers weren't just seeing polished results. They were witnessing the mud, the breakdowns, the stress of racing incoming storms, and the weight of knowing that one bad season could ripple for years. It raised a question no one saw coming. Was this still just a family farm, or was it becoming something much bigger? Because what happened next would pull Sonne Farms out of local legacy and onto a global stage. Everything changed the moment a camera entered the cab of a tractor. For decades, farming had been largely invisible to the outside world, understood only by the people who lived it. But Cole Sonne saw something others didn't. While most farmers were focused solely on yields and weather forecasts, he recognized that everyday farm life held a kind of quiet intensity people had never truly seen before. So he took a risk. At first, the idea was simple: capture real moments from the farm and share them online. No scripts, no overproduction, just honest footage of planting, harvesting, repairing equipment, and navigating the constant unpredictability that comes with working the land. There were no expectations of massive views, and definitely no blueprint for turning a farm into a digital brand. Then something surprising happened. People started watching, and they didn't stop. Viewers from cities, suburbs, and even other countries suddenly found themselves fascinated by a lifestyle completely different from their own. The long hours, the precision required to run million-dollar machinery, the pressure of seasons that refused to wait. It felt raw, unscripted, and refreshingly real in a world full of carefully curated content. But the growth didn't come without pressure, because the more the channel expanded, the more Cole had to balance two demanding roles: full-time farmer and full-time storyteller. Filming during harvest isn't convenient. Cameras don't fix broken equipment. Editing doesn't pause when cattle need attention. Yet somehow, he managed to pull viewers directly into the heartbeat of the operation without letting the farm itself fall behind. And that authenticity became the channel's secret weapon. There was no manufactured drama, just the natural tension that already exists in agriculture. Would the weather hold? Would the machinery cooperate? Would months of preparation pay off? Audiences weren't just watching a Gisisai farm. They were experiencing the stakes in real time. Still, one unexpected shift was beginning to surface. What started as sharing daily life was quietly transforming into something far more influential. Sonne Farms wasn't just documenting agriculture anymore. It was reshaping how thousands of people understood it. But with visibility comes scrutiny, and not everyone who discovers you is simply there to admire the view. At first, the attention felt exciting, almost unreal. A family farm tucked away in South Dakota was now reaching people who had never stepped foot on a gravel road. Comments poured in from viewers saying the videos had become part of their daily routine. Some watched to learn, others came for the calming rhythm of farm life, but many stayed because Sonne Farms felt different. It wasn't polished perfection, it was real. While much of the internet leans toward exaggeration, viewers quickly noticed that nothing here felt staged. When equipment failed, you saw it. When weather threatened months of work, the tension was impossible to hide. When exhaustion set in, it showed. That level of transparency built something most channels spend years chasing: trust. But what truly pulled people in was the emotional weight behind the work. Farming isn't a 9-to-5 job you can mentally clock out from. It follows you to bed, wakes you before sunrise, and constantly reminds you what's at stake. One violent storm can flatten a season. One mechanical issue during harvest can cost more than most people make in a year. And viewers began realizing that every calm sunset shot often came after a day packed with high-pressure decisions. The channel quietly became a bridge between two worlds: modern consumers and the reality of where their food actually begins. Yet, with growing loyalty came growing curiosity. People didn't just want to see the machinery anymore, they wanted to understand the people behind it. Questions started flooding in about the business, the risks, the future of family farming, and whether operations like this could even survive in an era dominated by massive agricultural corporations. Because here's the uncomfortable truth many were starting to recognize. Family farms across the country have been disappearing at an alarming rate. So how was Sonne Farms not only surviving, but expanding? The answer wasn't luck, and it definitely wasn't easy. Behind the steady videos and golden fields was a level of pressure most viewers never fully saw. And as the audience grew larger, so did the expectations, creating a reality far more demanding than anyone on the outside could imagine. Success has a way of looking effortless from the outside. Smooth drone shots glide over perfect rows of crops, combines roll through fields at sunset, and everything appears to move like a well-oiled machine. But behind every clean shot is a reality far less predictable. One where a single day can flip months of planning upside down. Because farming doesn't care about your schedule, weather remains the silent force hovering over every decision. A sudden hailstorm can tear through acres in minutes. Too much rain delays planting. Too little threatens the entire yield. And when your livelihood depends on conditions you cannot control, the pressure never fully fades. It just shifts from season to season. Then there's the machinery. Modern farm equipment is powerful, precise, and incredibly expensive. One unexpected breakdown during peak harvest isn't just frustrating, it can trigger a race against time. Crops don't wait patiently while repairs happen. Every hour risks quality, profit, and sometimes the outcome of the entire year. Viewers have occasionally caught glimpses of these moments: the long nights, the problem solving, the determination to keep moving no matter what. But the physical challenges are only part of the story. There's a quieter weight that comes with carrying forward a multi-generation legacy. When a farm has survived this long, you're not just making decisions for today, you're protecting decades of sacrifice while trying to build something strong enough for the next generation. That responsibility follows you everywhere. And oddly enough, bringing cameras into that environment adds another layer few people consider. Because now, the difficult days aren't private anymore. Thousands of people are watching, learning, forming opinions, cheering you on, and sometimes questioning your choices. Visibility creates opportunity, but it also means there's nowhere to hide when things don't go as planned. Still, Just as the challenges seemed relentless, another unexpected shift was beginning to unfold. What started as documentation was turning into influence, and Sonne Farms was about to realize just how far their reach had actually grown. Somewhere along the way, Sonne Farms stopped being just a YouTube channel and quietly became a voice for an entire industry. It started with small signs, messages from viewers saying the videos changed how they looked at farmers, parents sharing that their kids suddenly understood where food actually comes from. Even people who had never cared about agriculture found themselves invested in the outcome of a harvest hundreds of miles away. That kind of reach carries weight, because for years, a gap had been growing between consumers and the realities of farming. Grocery stores felt automatic, shelves stocked overnight, produce always available, little thought given to the process behind it. Sonne Farms began pulling back that curtain, showing that every gallon of fuel, every repaired part, and every early morning played a role in getting food onto those shelves. And people were paying attention. But influence brings a new kind of pressure, the unspoken understanding that what you show can shape public perception. Suddenly, everyday decisions weren't just operational, they were educational. Thousands were learning about sustainability, animal care, crop management, and the financial risks farmers navigate yearly. Yet what made the channel powerful wasn't perfection. It was balance. The videos didn't pretend farming was romantic 24/7. Yes, there were breathtaking sunrises and golden hour fields, but there were also tight timelines, unpredictable markets, and moments where sheer persistence carried the day. That honesty helped dismantle the myth that farming is either outdated or simple. Instead, viewers began seeing it for what it truly is, a constant blend of tradition and innovation. And without loudly announcing it, Sonne Farms helped modernize the image of the American farmer. Not stuck in the past, but adapting, learning new technology, and finding unexpected ways to stay connected to a rapidly changing world. Still, with greater visibility came an even bigger question lingering beneath the surface. If a single family farm could influence this many people, what would the future hold? Because the path they were carving wasn't just changing their operations, it was hinting at a completely new era of agriculture. So when you step back and look at the full picture, the story behind Sonne Farms isn't really about viral videos, massive equipment, or even record harvests. It's about something much deeper, the quiet reinvention of a way of life that many once believed was fading into the background. Because while the world races toward automation and convenience, farms like this remind us that some things still depend on patience, resilience, and an almost stubborn level of commitment. Seasons don't slow down. Challenges don't send warnings. And success is never guaranteed. Yet somehow, Sonne Farms has managed to bridge two completely different worlds: the timeless rhythm of agriculture and the fast-moving pulse of the digital age. Think about that for a moment. A multi-generation farm that once operated largely out of sight is now educating, inspiring, and reshaping how thousands of people understand the journey of food from field to table, not through headlines or controversy, but through consistency and transparency. And maybe that's the most unexpected part of their rise. They didn't capture attention by being the loudest, but by being the realest. Still, the future of farming remains uncertain. Economic pressure, unpredictable weather, and industry consolidation continue to test family operations across the country, which makes Sonne Farms feel less like just a success stories in Anticolo and more like a glimpse into what farming may need to become to survive. So the next time you see those endless fields roll past your screen, remember, you're not just watching crops grow, you're watching a legacy adapt in real time. By this point, one thing had become impossible to ignore. Sonne Farms wasn't growing by accident. While many viewers saw peaceful fields and steady progress, what they were really witnessing was a farm learning how to evolve without losing the values that built it. Because staying relevant in agriculture today requires more than hard work. It demands adaptability. Markets shift without warning, input costs climb, land becomes harder to secure. Technology moves fast, and falling behind isn't really an option. Farms that resist change often find themselves squeezed out, not overnight, but slowly, season by season. Yet Sonne Farms leaned into that reality instead of fearing it. They embraced modern equipment, explored smarter efficiencies, and most importantly, continued inviting viewers into a world that had traditionally been closed off. That transparency created something rare, a sense that the audience wasn't just watching from a distance but riding along through the uncertainties. And oddly enough, that openness may be one of their biggest safeguards for the future, because visibility builds connection, and connection builds support. The more people understand what it truly takes to run a farm, the harder it becomes for that way of life to quietly disappear. In many ways, Sonne Farms isn't just protecting their own legacy, they're helping preserve the story of family agriculture itself. But here's the twist few saw coming. What began as a simple effort to document daily work has positioned them at the intersection of two powerful forces: tradition and digital influence. One rooted in generations of experience, the other accelerating faster every year. That kind of crossroads brings opportunity, but it also raises the stakes, because now the question isn't whether Sonne Farms can survive the future. It's how far they can go. Will they remain a beloved window into rural life, expand into something even larger, inspire a wave of farms to step into the digital spotlight? One thing is certain. The story is still being written. And if the past has proven anything, it's that the strongest farms aren't just the ones that endure change. They're the ones bold enough to grow with it.